songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Military is so intense. Our combat missions, the operations, and what they discover decades ago is that we can help mitigate mental health challenges through parks and recreation. You can help reduce stress. It's one of the many coping strategies. Just enjoy parks and recreation. We're so intentional. And what we also discover is that it's a place for families. It's our community place for families to get together.
All right, we are live again. This is the Craig LeBlanc, the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Christmas Eve edition. I actually had a guest scheduled for today, but we realized that today would have been Christmas Eve. So he may hop on and say hello from the great state of Georgia. But I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, for everything that we have accomplished, and all the support that we've gotten from the whole Parks and Rec community. Big shout out to Jonathan Skinner out in California, who he's just a great guy. And I'm not even sure, I don't want to announce anything that I'm not sure has been made public, but awesome guy, Jonathan. Best wishes to you. I'd like to chat with you about potentially helping me out with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. So if you're listening, I'm going to be hunting you down because I think you just have a lot to offer, and you're a 3-time guest, soon to be a 4-time guest, maybe a 4-time guest. I think maybe the only person, except maybe Sevi, that's been here on the show that many times, but just has a lot of experience in Parks and Rec. He's out in California, Lake Elsinore. I'm not sure exactly if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Anyway, all right. So for those of you new to this show, this is DPRS Media Network. We changed the brand a little bit. DPRS app stands for Daily Parks and Rec Show. The reason we changed it to a network is because now we are officially a network of Parks and Rec shows, which is what we were trying to do from the very beginning, is just to create a network that was all things Parks and Rec. We want it to be a 24/7 network, similar to how ESPN is a network all dedicated to sports. So we want to be a network of 24/7 programming, pumping out great content all about Parks and Rec, whether it's on special events or facilities maintenance, or highlighting some of the leaders in Parks and Rec across the country, highlighting the great work that all of the state associations do. Of course, one of our longest standing shows, Youth Sports Mastery, with host Aaron Locks, all about youth sports. One of our other oldest shows, the Young Professionals Network, now run by our 2 college interns, Aiden Tierney and Michael Moreau, on Thursdays, 5 p.m. That's a new time slot. And we're even launching a couple other shows with the help of our host, John Prue. And he is, for those of you who don't know, MWR is kind of like the military base version of Parks and Rec. And our show name is On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. That's going to be every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. I got to calculate the time zones because I'm over here in New Orleans. And then with the help of Her Sports and Jordan Ziff and Lisa, we're launching the Athletes Commute. And it's where she kind of goes in the car, giving pro female athletes a car ride to practice or to a game, or maybe being in the bus or back, behind the scenes, and gets that, what's it like in the day in the life of a female pro athlete, which she was formerly one of. Oh, and it looks like Derrick may be joining us. Let's see if he can get his device connected, but hopefully my guest will come on today. While we're getting that, I'll go ahead and run a quick. Oh, here he is. Derrick, how are you doing today?
Hey, there we go. Yes.
You did it. Hold on, let me make sure.
How you doing, Craig?
Fantastic.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, but I need to shift let me do a little backstage management here. Make
Okay.
sure my sound is, let's see, sound output. Here we go. That's it. Okay. Say something again.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 3, 2,
Perfect.
1.
Love it, man. How was your Christmas week been treating you so far?
Oh, Craig. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your show. What better place to spend Christmas Eve than on Craig, the Doorman show?
Yeah.
My wife and I, we have 7 children. So
No
the oldest
way.
is 31, the youngest is 20. So that tells you our week has been exhausting.
I very rarely meet people that have a lot of kids like me. I also have a ton of kids. So give me the lineup. How many boys? How many girls?
Yeah. So we have 4 daughters and 3 sons.
Yeah.
The girls came first. Our oldest is 31. She's a doctor. She graduated from Meharry. Then we have daughter number 2. She's 27. She just had my second grandson. So we have 2 grandsons. And then we have another daughter, Zoe, graduated from Yale, and she's preparing for the LSAT. And then we get into the boys. James, we call him Skip. He played 5 years of football at Duke University. So he graduated in those 5 years with a bachelor's from Duke and a master's from Duke. And then son number 2, Barron, he just graduated last week with a civil engineer. And he was the defensive player of the year, another football player, and a strong prospect for the NFL. He's third in the ESPN defensive player, and he's 16 overall.
Wow.
So we're expecting great things. And then child number 6, we go back to the girls, Trinity. She's in her second year of med school. And then number 7, John, did 2 years at Morehouse and currently on a gap year. I don't know what a gap year is, but he's 20. He did his one. He did one film. He played as a Snoop Dogg, an early version of Snoop Dogg in the Snoop Dogg movie, and he also played football. So that's all 7 of them: 4 daughters and 3 sons.
Man, did those girls give you a run for your money in the teenage years?
Listen, I'm a girl dad, right? I started off as a girl dad, and I spoiled them. I did. So it was a beautiful thing. They love to play outdoors. A couple of them played soccer and volleyball and track and field. So and me being an outdoorsy type dad, it was perfect. And then of course the boys play football. So it's an amazing thing.
Did you ever coach any of them while they were young, or?
I did. That's where we bump heads, right? Because
I know it.
they couldn't turn off dad from dad or coach, right?
Right.
They couldn't separate it. I separated it, right? I'm like, right now I'm not your dad. I'm your coach. I'm your coach. But they couldn't separate it. But I did. I was a soccer coach for 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And then when they got up to that age, 8 and 9, where soccer is no longer co-ed, it splits off. And so when Trinity, the youngest of the 2 that played soccer, when she stopped, then I just became more supportive and attended, the games that they were playing, volleyball, football, whatever.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. Mine were big into cross country, and so they all ran cross country together. And I, like you, had a lot more daughters. I only had 2 sons. I had 9 daughters, but they all pretty much ran cross country. And it was I had a hard time shifting from coach to dad. Sometimes they thought they were just being fathered by the coach the whole time.
Well, I guess mine wasn't as challenging because, as you know, Craig, I'm a retired naval officer. So I did 22 years in the Navy. And so it was real easy for me to compartmentalize being a dad versus the coach.
Yeah. You know, and I'm not sure if you, so our show is all about, it's called the Daily Parks and Rec Show. And our goal was to create, similar to how you can go onto ESPN and just see sports 24/7, no matter where you are, you can tune in. There's always something going on with sports. So we're creating a media network all for parks and recreation across America. And it's the only one of its kind. And we have just gotten massive support from across the country, and actually a huge amount of support from your state, Georgia. Not sure if you're familiar with Henry County, Georgia, but JP and them over there run a tight ship. They're just amazing. But then also this coming January, we're launching with the help of John Prue, a show all about how the military runs Parks and Rec. It's going to be called the Military Rec Show, On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. That's going to be every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. But I'm actually just learning about Parks and Rec on military bases. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that was like for you when you were in the Navy, how y'all's little version of Parks and Rec is on every military base, and how that helped you out during those years.
Yeah, so great question. So to answer your first question, yes, we are very familiar with your show, which is the reason why my campaign reached out to you, because they know, although I was born and raised in a city, but I love the outdoor, right? I mean, I'm a Navy. I did, nearly half of my life on the water, exploring the seven seas. And I often think about, Craig, where we are in our society to preserve and protect parks and recreation. We need our green space.
100%.
Right? I am very familiar with Henry County, because Henry County is right up to where my district, District 68, where I've been the legislator for nearly 10 years. And one of the things that I've been doing, I'm sure we'll get to it during this interview, but during my 10 years as a legislator, been trying to remind our citizens the value that parks and recreation, how it delivers to our families, this oasis in our counties, in our cities, right? A place where you can go and relax and have a picnic or jog. You mentioned your children did cross country running. I mean, not everyone, Craig, wants to get on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Right? We need a place in our society where citizens can go and unwind. And just look at the beautiful trees and the sky. And I don't want to sound too touchy-feely, but that's one of the things that I enjoyed about our Navy bases. Our naval bases, Craig, it allowed for us to enjoy after a deployment or operations or exercises, to be able to come into our base and we pride ourselves on military installations. To have a place where our sailors and our officers can just simply just relax. And here's the reason why, Craig, for your listening audience. They may not draw the connection, but prayerfully they will after I share this story. Military is so intense. Our combat missions, the operations, and what they discover decades ago is that we can help mitigate mental health challenges through parks and recreation, right?
Yeah.
You can help reduce stress. It's one of the many coping strategies that we instill in our military members, those brave men and women that provide, that put on the uniform as I did for 22 years. It's a coping strategy, Craig. To be able to go and play basketball, throw a football, or kick a soccer ball, right? To just hear the birds chirping, it helps us cope whatever stressful situation, mentally, physically, spiritually. And so on our military installation, and not just Navy, let me be absolutely clear. Not just Navy, but all of our military installations, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, Air Force, you will see our military installations, Craig, just enjoy parks and recreation. We're so intentional. And what we also discovered is that it's a place for families. It's our community place for families to get together, right? White, black, old, and young, to get together in this community node. And that's the reason why we're intentional and investing in parks and recreation.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that is the chief pillar in my gubernatorial race. And I'm sure we'll get to that as well. My first priority is always going to focus on family. And what I discovered during my 10 years as a legislator is to protect our green space.
Yeah.
Those who want to have a place to enjoy and unwind.
And even if I remember back to my college athlete days, it's the best athletes were just masters at rest and recovery, because they could work out hard, they could practice hard, they could train hard because they were well rested. And it's same thing whether you're trying to make a battle ready soldier or you're trying to make a community that's resilient, that's vibrant. It's if there's never time off, there's never a place close by that they can walk to, that they can kind of rest and recover and just unplug for a minute, then they're just constantly in a high stress state. And that's when just society starts to break down. It's when your body starts to break down. It's when your soldiers start to break down, and they just can't handle those never ending stressful environments if they never have a place that they can kind of unplug and recover and rest. And I think that's where Parks and Rec across America just has a beautiful story to tell. Unfortunately, nobody was telling it till we showed up, at least on a nationwide scale. So yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is just 100%. I agree with. And so tell us about your 10 years as a representative. So what motivated you to run as a representative in the state of Georgia?
You know, it's all about service. My very first career after high school, I went into the United States Navy. And I joined the Navy at the tender age of 17.
Wow.
And my mother, who taught me everything. She was a nurse for 40 years. And during her 40 years of nursing, she explained to her only son, her firstborn, that our currency in this world is service. It's to be able to help the least of these. And so when I graduated from high school and I was looking to go to Syracuse University, and I was persuaded by my 5 other cousins who were already in the Navy, and they would show me these pictures from Philippines and in Australia and all these places. And I'm like, man. And so Tony, one of my cousins in the Navy, said, Derrick, you can come into the Navy. The Navy will pay for your education, will pay for you to go to college, and, just try it out. And that's what I did, Craig. I went into the Navy. The Navy paid for my college education. And in return, I gave the Navy 22 years of service, of exploring the world, 7 deployments and 4 combat missions and 2 special operations and 1 humanitarian. And it was always about service for me. It was always to find something that I can do to make the world a better place. And that's what my mother taught me. She, as a nurse, she taught me to figure out what it is in the world of service and go and do that. And that's what led me to join the Navy. And when I retired, Craig, in 2005, I went into corporate America, did that for 10 years.
But before you move on to that, I'd like to ask you a question about why you stayed in the Navy, because John was saying one of the big issues that the military has is people will come there for their 4 years and they get their college tuition, they serve their time, and then they leave. And it's such a huge loss for the military to put all that money and training into someone and have them go. And part of the MWR is that quality of life to hopefully keep them around like you did for 22 years. So what made you, after you finished your 4 years, wanted to stay in for an additional, almost nearly 18 years?
Yeah, great question. I think, and I'm certainly not the first, and I won't be the last, but recently Betty Reed Soskin. I'm not sure if you know Betty Reed Soskin. She's the oldest. Well, she was the oldest National Park Service Ranger, and she passed away last week. She was 104.
Wow.
She became a National Park Service Ranger during a time, Craig, where our worlds collided in civil rights, and it was just a horrible state that our country was in when she became a Park Service Ranger. But here, this 104-year-old, she started, and she almost left serving after 2 years because they did not believe that a Black woman should be in that line of work.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that stuck with me. She said, if not me, then who?
She trailblazer.
Right.
Given permission for everyone else to follow in her footsteps.
That's right. And so when I went into the Navy, Craig, I didn't see that many Black naval officers.
Yeah.
I'm the first in my family, and we have a long line of men who served in the military. A lot of my uncles served in the Army, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam. And we would hear stories about how this country did not appreciate them. And in spite of them, losing some loved ones on the battlefield, they were not respected when they returned home, especially after Vietnam. We know all the horrible stories. But when I went into the Navy, Craig, in 1983, I didn't see that many sailors that looked like me, that one could swim, athletic, and smart. And so I stayed because there was something in my soul. It was like God was almost telling me that he was going to use me as an example to show what it would look like for a young Black man coming from a single family home. I never met my dad. Don't know him. Never met him. Him and my mother part ways after 6 months of me being on this earth. And so my mother inspired me to stay in the Navy. She's like, Derrick, you're going to go in places that are often, you're going to look around and often you're going to be the only one. And so look at this as not as a burden, but as an opportunity to show the light that's within you. And that's what inspired me, Craig, to stay in the Navy. And I'm so happy that I did, because a lot of my contemporaries right now are 3- and 4-star admirals. A lot of young sailors, men and women that I mentored are now commanders and captains. One just sent me a text, and he's about to be promoted to 06. And so that's why I stayed in the Navy.
I'm curious, was your mother's thought process way back then, you not having that father figure, were there any father figures in the Navy or in coaching or anything else that kind of stepped into your life and kind of were good male role models for you along the way?
Yes. I know he's no longer alive, but it was the Mr. Rocky, the barbershop. Mr. Rocky. My mother every Saturday would drop me off, one, to get my hair cut. Because I used to have this big afro.
Why'd you let it go?
Well, the Navy chopped it all off.
That's right.
Right? The Navy chopped it all off. But growing up as a little boy, my afro was just unmanageable for my mom. And so Mr. Rocky would, give me a taper and do all that. So every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., she would drop me off at Mr. Rocky. And just listening to these, I call it these elder statesmen, right? Here I am, a little 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy, listening to these men who were speaking so much wisdom. They were in their 30s and 40s and 50s. And I would just sit there because back then, Craig, you to be seen and not heard.
Yeah,
right?
That's how I was raised too.
Okay. So I was a sponge and I'm just listening to them, right? Just listening to them. And here I am, a good sponge for 7 years, from the age of 10 to the age of 17. And I would hear things like, do as much as you can while you can. Right? I would hear things like, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you.
Yeah.
I would hear things, Craig, like, life is not hard unless you make it hard. And so they resonated with me. And so my mother knew by dropping off her son every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to Mr. Rocky's barbershop, that these older gentlemen were going to deposit something that she could not. Because see, my mother always reminded me, she said, I gave birth to a son, but it's going to take another man to raise him.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's such wisdom coming from her, because a lot of single moms, they try to be that male, but it's like, how does a woman teach a man how to be a man? And so it's always, I like to see how, God always provides some way, some man steps into your life, either a coach or like Mr. Rocky. And it just seems like they just lay that foundation for you. We're coming up at the halfway point of our show, which we usually play a little promotion, but instead of that, I'm going to play a video that we made because during COVID, Parks and Rec, a lot of their budgets got slashed because they were not considered essential services. And as we kind of came out of that, we started to realize how essential Parks and Rec was for the health and the vibrancy of our communities. And so we had done almost 300 episodes of content by that point. And I went to my some of my best video editors. I was like, can y'all make me a video that just expresses how important Parks and Rec is as an essential service? So I want to play it, and I'd love to get your feedback on it. I think you would. I know you would appreciate it. So it's about 2 minutes. So we'll play this and we'll come right back.
Okay.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present: parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety. A playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. for our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
All right. So give us your thoughts on that.
Powerful. Powerful. When I become governor of Georgia, Craig, I want that same PSA to be on every major broadcast, both on social media and television and radio. Because as that 2-minute commercial outline was perfectly aligned with what I had already shared. It's the same thing that I experienced when I was in the United States Navy. It's the same thing that I've been doing as a legislator. I realized the value in parks and recreation. It is a coping strategy. It is economics. It is health. And it is essential. And so your team did a magnificent job that really captures the value proposition. We have to understand, Craig, that and we deal with a $60 billion budget here in Georgia. And what often is cut, Parks and Rec, because 5 years ago, I recall this same debate. The debate was what is considered essential and what's considered non-essential. But it's those non-essential things, Craig, which position our society in a very preventive way to be healthy, to encourage, to have a place to exhale. So those things that folks were saying is non-essential, in my humble opinion, they are essential. One of my priorities as a gubernatorial candidate, my first priority is around family. You cannot think about family without thinking about community. I love the aspect that you all have highlighted, bringing communities together. Where our subdivisions now, Craig, we're building homes without front porches and a big back deck. Why am I saying that? Because as a little boy, I can remember sitting on my grandmother's shotgun house with a front porch, and every neighbor that will pass by, we will wave, "Hi, Mr. Smith. Hey, Mrs. Jones." Well, you can't do that today because we're not building homes with front porches. That front porch was essential to building communities, much like parks and recreation. It is essential with bringing our communities together so we can not only learn of each other and discover each other, but allow for our children to play soccer, to run track, to be able to get to know the best of each other. And so I love the fact how your team did a magnificent job in articulating the purpose and the function of Parks and Rec, but more importantly, the value proposition. And that value proposition has everything to do with family. And so when I become governor, I'm gonna need an infomercial.
Like you can use that one, or we'll make you one. When we think of essential for the body, we think of food, shelter, clothing as essential, but maybe we don't put exercising as essential. But if you don't exercise, you end up with an unhealthy body. And now all of a sudden healthcare becomes more essential because you've neglected your body or you're eating poor quality food. And so a community is the same way. Maybe you don't need a park, but if the community is unhealthy because it has no way to bond as a community, well, then you might need more police force and bigger hospital systems because everyone's just unhealthy through constant neglect. And that's where Parks and Rec can come in and do. And I'm not sure if you're aware, I actually learned this by making the Daily Parks and Rec show. The sheer volume of special events that are put on by the Parks and Rec, nearly every community celebration, 4th of July celebration, Christmas, Halloween, you name it. It's just nonstop integrating community and festivals and special events. It's a massive part of what they do in Parks and Rec. So we often only think
green spaces, soccer camp, maybe a swimming pool, but that's just scratching the surface as to the services that Parks and Rec provides for all their local and every community in America, every small town has this going on quietly, like behind the scenes.
We can only value what we should as a society if we place value. An example I'm going to use is a tree. A tree serves more than just a product to create paper. A tree also serves as an element to help clean the air in which we breathe. A tree also serves, Craig, to provide me shade from the sunlight that I should also receive, vitamin D. A tree, Craig, also provides a safe place if I need to climb that tree and the dog chasing me.
Yeah.
There are so many functions of a tree, is my point. It's not just something, an element to be monetized for toilet paper and other furniture. And so we have to place value on everything that you all express on Daily Parks and Rec show. I think you all should do another PSA around green grass and trees.
Oh, yeah.
We need green space, right? It's not just another form of green energy. It is green energy.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
And it sounds like you need to come visit New Orleans. That's where I'm at. We have front porches and trees and parks and spades.
we visit New Orleans all the time. Our daughter is in her second year.
No way.
Med school at Xavier in Tulane.
Yeah, that's right down the street from me. I live uptown. I'm very familiar with that area. Yeah, if you're ever in town, look me up. We love this city. They seem to, and they're not the perfect city. Yeah. You know, we've got blemishes as well. But when it comes to green spaces, front porches, everyone lives on their front porch. Just a really strong culture and community. And Georgia has a lot of those cities as well that feel like New Orleans when I visit them.
Yeah, and we do. But every day, our green space, Craig, let's be honest, our green space is being threatened, right? Replace that green space with concrete,
right?
And foundation and condos and more buildings. And we can't displace all green spaces and think that we're going to survive mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So we have to have shows like yours that's leaning forward with our full chest, saying Parks and Rec is essential, not non-essential. We need to say Parks and Rec is a vital instrument for humans. We need to say Parks and Rec is the keystone of our survival, right? We have to say with our full chest and really say, if we do this right, we will be able to mitigate mental health challenges. We'll be able to mitigate chronic illnesses. We'll be able to continue to provide a space and a place and an oasis for us to have picnics in parks, community events like your show highlighted. I was thinking about where
the different
the very
festivals.
first time as a little boy, we went to a festival and I got my first corn dog. Man, I was like, I want to come to this place all the time to get this corn dog.
Right. Yeah. You know, it reminds me the way you described a tree and a community. It's like saying being a father is only about replicating.
It's only about replicating yourself. I mean, as a father and, speaking father to father, maybe express how much more being a father poured back into you and the joy you got from raising those sons and daughters.
When we often think about legacy and impact, the only way the future will know, Craig, that you and I existed will be through the values that we instill in our children.
Mm.
They'll be able to tell the story 20, 30, 50 years from now that we existed. And I believe trees are the same way.
Mm.
When I think of Yosemite Park, not sure if you've ever been there.
I haven't.
But it's a beautiful place where you'll see trees, Craig, 200 years old.
Mm.
They can tell the story of what happened 200 years ago.
Mm.
Think about that for a second. And so we have to preserve as much as possible that tree that can tell a story that no one else of that age, because they're not around.
Mm.
But that tree can tell us the environment, Craig. That tree can tell us everything that we need to know from a science-based research perspective about the environment in which we live in.
Yeah.
A palm tree can explain to us the impacts of a hurricane. And as an old Navy sailor, that information helped us, right? It gave us how we should build our ships today. What kind of winds, velocity, the angle. What happens when the hurricane hits the shores, which is the reason why to this day, we do, as much as possible, we'll have our ships go out to sea if we expect for that hurricane to hit one of our naval bases.
Mm.
And for those ships who may not have the ability, Craig, to get underway because we remove their engine or their propulsion system, well, we know exactly what we need to do with our mooring lines so that way that ship and that pier may not, to mitigate and minimize as much possible damage, if that makes sense to your listening audience, right? And we get that information through a palm tree, right? And so there's a lot of history in trees. But once we chop it down, that history, much like our ancestors, they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure if you came by City Park, but it's most people aren't aware. It's the largest stand of 8-footers, and they've got 8, 9, 10, and 12-foot wide live oak trees. These trees have been here nearly twice as long as our nation's been alive. Back when it was just Indians really around here. And
in fact, we took a tour, Craig, and they explained to us about those trees when Hurricane Katrina came through.
Man, they Hurricane Katrina did a number on us on our trees, but those trees were just like, yeah, we've seen this.
Right.
Yep.
They said these trees survived Hurricane Katrina. And in fact, those same trees where people on small boats were able to tie. I mean, it was amazing, the story. And once we were finished listening to the tour guide, we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Those trees can tell the story about survival of Hurricane Katrina.
All right, so let's get in. Before we close out the show, I wanted you to tell us, why you decided to run for governor, and when is the election? I'm not familiar with y'all's election timelines and stuff, and what's been your experience of campaigning, as a governor for the state of Georgia?
Yeah. No, thank you for the opportunity again to be on a Daily Parks and Rec show. And some folks will say, well, why is a gubernatorial candidate on the Daily Parks and Rec show? Right? I'm not sure how many gubernatorial candidates you may have. I may be the first, Craig.
Yeah.
But if I am the first, here's the reason why I'm on here. Because I truly believe in what I believe. I truly believe in parks and recreation. And so I have a phenomenal campaign team. They discovered your show and they said, what better place to help articulate your story about Parks and Rec? Your time is 22 years in the United States Navy, your time at GE as a corporate exec, and your time as a legislator these last 10. That's 42 years. I've been fighting the good fight around parks and recreation. And sometimes it had to be intentional, like 5 years ago. And so when I become governor, part of my reasoning for running for governor, Craig, is to make sure that I provide families a quality of life. That's my priority. That's my first priority. Families, families, families. If there's nothing else, if you say, like, what was it that Derrick is running for governor for? Families. So everything that touched the family, Craig, including parks and recreation. You can't talk about providing families here in Georgia a quality of life without talking about parks and rec. You can't talk about preserving families without talking about healthcare and education and protecting our rights. And of course, military. You cannot talk about family without talking about these things. And I'm asking the citizens of Georgia to hire me to put these 42 years of leadership, 42 years of experience, and 42 years of service. I'm asking the citizens here in Georgia to hire me come May of 2026 to become their 84th governor right here in Georgia.
And you've been, you said, a representative in the Atlanta area or around that area, that metro area?
Yeah, so I represent District 68, which covers 7 cities. And I'm not sure if you're too familiar with, so I'm going to use the airport as a, who doesn't know where Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is, right?
Yeah.
I'm at the 7 o'clock position from the airport, and I cover 7 cities: Fairburn, City of Fairburn, City of Union City, City of South Fulton, College Park, and then I go into Fayette County, Peachtree City. I mean, everybody knows Peachtree City, right? We're known for our golf cart paths, 100 miles of golf cart path. Tyrone, Georgia, and City of Fayetteville. So those 7 cities, I've had the pleasure of representing as District 68 for 10 years. And now I'm asking for the citizens across Georgia, urban, suburban, rural, all 159 counties, all 536 cities, to elect me to become their 84th governor.
So what's your message to the Parks and Rec community? And it's not a really huge community. I mean, nationwide, 350,000 employees, maybe about double that once you get to part-timers, summer camp counselors and lifeguards and such. But then all the kids that participate, I'm just blown away by the sheer volume of kids that run through Parks and Rec, and not just through sports, but through after-school care, daycare, and the elderly community, all the special events. So, I mean, like you said, it just impacts every single community. What's your message to them?
So my message, let me be absolutely loud and clear. I'm the only candidate that's running for governor in Georgia that will have Parks and Recreation on the top of the list for funding, on the top of the list to make sure that we protect and preserve, on top of the list. Every day when I wake up, I'm thinking about what can we do to enhance our parks and recreation. That's where I learned how to swim. And because I learned how to swim at a parks and recreation community is the reason why I was able to serve 22 years in the Navy. Just last week, Craig, we gave over 300 bicycles at the Driscoll Parks and Recreation. This park, we just funneled about $3 million to redo the recreation center itself. to redo the pools, and there are more dollars to come. But we did this grand opening, and we had 300 bikes to give to 300 deserving children. And so and your listening audience might say, well, why are you doing that at a Parks and Rec? Because the entire community came out. 5-10 miles radius from that park. They all knew the location and they were very familiar with it. It's a safe place. And so I'm going to be that governor. I'm going to be that governor that find podcasts such as yours and say, let's have an interview. Let's talk about why Parks and Recreation is the keystone of our society when you start talking about quality of life for families.
Yeah. Now, is there anything throughout your years that you've discovered, either other governors, other states, other local park systems that you're like, okay, these are doing really good job. We want to protect them and amplify them. And then maybe these are some ones that we've seen that are struggling, and here's why we maybe want to change this a little bit.
Yeah, I think there are a plethora of cities and states that are doing some things very well. As you mentioned, I'm sure every time we visited New Orleans, I marvel at, I think you all call them sleeping willows, those trees that sort of have
the live oaks with the peat moss.
Yes. Yeah. I think they're man, they're so relaxing just to look at.
Yeah, they're monuments.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know we may not be able to grow those trees in Georgia because, you know, our soil may not be such for those type of trees. But I just think that whatever you all are doing in New Orleans, for example, for those types of trees, you know, maybe there's a practice that we can bring here to Georgia that when citizens get a chance to look at some trees very similar, that it may resonate with them like your trees when we visit our daughter. And I just pull over and just like, man, just sit there.
Yeah.
I wonder if those branches can talk.
Yeah.
Right. It's those sorts of things. And of course, it's always great to travel. But I truly believe, Craig, to answer your question in the most clear manner, we can do more if we are intentional. We can do better if we properly fund Parks and Rec. Make sure they have the staffing. Make sure they have the subject matter experts, right? There's some green grass in Virginia Beach where I was stationed. And I'm like, man, it would be just phenomenal to have that same green grass here in Georgia to be able to have a picnic, right? Or just, you know, look up at the deep blue sky and just imagine I'm 59, but there's a 10-year-old boy that's inside me. What I used to do when I was 10, just this daydream. And I still would love the opportunity just to do that as I did when I was 10 at the age of 59. But some of our parks have been replaced with concrete. And so I want to make sure I do my part as governor to not only properly fund Parks and Recreation, but to make sure I protect and preserve them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as far as what we should do, it's almost like with Mother Nature, you don't really have to defend it. Just allow it. Just let it out of its cage. Like preserve a spot for Mother Nature to just be Mother Nature.
Yeah.
It's not like you're teaching a tree how to be a tree. You're just not chopping it down and paving over it. I think what we do with our trees in New Orleans is we just kind of let them be themselves. And they give back so much to the community. And I think same thing with youth sports. Like the most important thing about youth sports is just allow the kids to be kids, allow them to have fun. They don't need to be thinking about being a D1 athlete in 3rd grade. And I think the best park systems kind of lean into letting Mother Nature be Mother Nature, working with Mother Nature, letting the kids be kids, letting parents come out and just spend time with their children, that you don't almost need to go in there and control it so much as just create a safe space for families to be families, kids to be kids, trees to be trees. And it's when we try to go in and just make it all mechanical. I saw this recent interview where they were talking about these massive AI data centers and how one of the biggest data centers, which I used to be a master electrician and an engineer, one data center pulls 2 gigawatts, which is like 2 nuclear powerhouses, grid scale, and they're almost getting close to the same computational power as one human mind. And I just marvel at what Mother Nature has already done and how we're struggling so hard with all of our intelligence, all of our power to just make one brain. And yet you've given birth to 7.
Yeah.
And you've got to raise them.
I got some legislation I'm writing right now, and it's on the top of my desk to place a moratorium on data centers. So we can do more research on the impacts of these data centers. Craig, we have 97 data centers in Georgia.
Wow.
They've been incentivized to knock down our trees, displace our green spaces, and put up these millions and millions of square footage of data centers. I have the largest data center in the United States in my district that just opened up. QTS.
Who opened that up, or do you know what?
QTS. It's the largest data center in the United States.
Man,
right?
Pulling a lot of power.
Power, water, our natural resources, right? And I understand. I mean, they said all these devices in cell phones and tablets and these vehicles that are fully autonomous. I mean, I get it. I understand advanced technology, but there must be a balance. And that's what my legislation that I'm drafting to introduce next month. Let's take 3 years of moratorium and let us do some serious research and figure out what the cost balance ratio is. Because there's a cost to everything, but there should be a balance. So, and if the cost outweighs the other hand, Craig, we may say, okay, that's it. 97 data centers. We're not doing no more.
Right.
But we can only make a sound decision if we just press pause and do exactly what you just articulated. And so, as a legislator, and not just as one who wants to be the governor, I just think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And so, but I want to go back to another point that you made, Craig, before I forget, and you close out the show. We have to make sure that our children interact or have a place to interact with trees in green spaces, because that way, Craig, we can develop the next generation of those who going to help us protect and preserve the trees, who are going to be foresters, who are going to be in the agricultural space. We don't want all of our children just think about becoming the next AI designer or computer specialist or lawyers and doctors. We need others to say, I want to go in the world of forestry. But not that many children are going to college and signing up for forestry degrees or agriculture. We're going to need those subject matter experts. And so by keeping parks and recreation alive and properly funded and having these subject matter experts, because going back to your earlier question, we'll be able to plant seeds for the next generation of subject matter experts that understands grass, understand trees, all trees, that understand agriculture, that understand these sort of things to help sustain our society.
Yeah. Yeah. And after speaking almost on our 400th episode, I've spoken to so many master arborists and people that have studied agronomy, which is the study of grass, managing turf. They are the industry of Parks and Rec is desperate for more master arborists to receive their certification, because every tree has tens of thousands of tree that are in the public domain, that they have these urban forests, and the quality of life that trees bring into the community is just irreplaceable. Yeah. And you're right, we don't have enough young people getting into that part of and then I can tell you the Parks and Rec departments are desperate, looking to hire people that have an interest in urban forestry, or to become a master arborist, or to study agronomy, and they do pay well.
They do pay well, and we need to incentivize it too. We need to tell that 10-year-old young man today, or that 10-year-old young lady, and say, if you go to school and you want to have a job in this area, one, we will have a job for you, and two, we're going to pay you appropriately, right?
Yeah.
I just think we have a responsibility today to prepare our children for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, Derrick, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Do you have any closing remarks for the Parks and Rec community of America, and specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thank you, Craig. It was great to be on the Daily Parks and Rec show. Thank you for all the work that you continue to do. Thank you for finding this invaluable, essential niche to do what others are not doing, and that's to put the direct focus on parks and recreation. I truly believe in it. Parks and Rec is what is a huge part on who I am today. I've already shared how it was Parks and Rec taught me how to learn, taught me how to swim, and that's how I learned how to swim. But go to voteDerrickJackson.org. Go to voteDerrickJackson.org. All social media, Derrick, that's DERRICK Jackson. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. DM me. I would love to come back on here, Craig, when you talk specifically about, the military installation. I have tons of stories to talk about that, as I've already shared some of it. But thank you. I just want to say thank you, Craig, and I look forward to being on here again to share why I need to be the next governor right here in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, Derrick, thank you for your service as a naval officer. Thank you for your service as a father of 7. Thank you for your service as a rep, hopefully. Thank you for your service as a governor. And I'd like to big shout out to Mr. Rocky for doing a great job. And thank you, Mama Jackson, for giving America another great son. Really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Craig.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. Wow, that was a fantastic one. Derrick, thank you so much for coming on the show today and expressing, really just telling us about your life in the military. Definitely have you on the show next year on the Military Rec Show, because, 22 years in the Navy, you can really tell us about what that meant to you as far as the Parks and Rec facilities and our naval bases. And good luck to you as running for the governor in the great state of Georgia. I know I've got a ton of supporters in Georgia. Shout out to Henry County, Georgia. We actually do a monthly podcast with them called The Rec Room. And man, it's just an amazing team. All right. So we got a lot coming up here towards the end of the year. We've got a lot of special shows that are launching. And I'm not sure if y'all saw the show that we did yesterday, but you should go check it out. We did a show all about STEM, which I think stands for, what is it? Science, technology, engineering, math, something like that. I know the educators are probably laughing at me because I don't know what it means, but I was learning about it yesterday. And why did we have a whole show on STEM is because we had a director out in Wilmington, Kenny Michaels, and he had Chris with him. Hold on, I want to make sure I get Chris's last name. Yeah, Christopher Stone. And 10 years ago, all these directors are thinking about programming. And when we think programming,
our mind most of the time races to sports programming. So all the sports, grade school, high school, on Parks and Rec facilities, we got sports fields and stuff, but those community centers have these rooms where we'll do senior programming for elderly people. And then we'll have maybe arts and crafts. And so they had the idea between Chris and Kenny about doing something for STEM for the moms that were dropping off their kids to the daycare at the community center and going to like a yoga class. But they had like 1.5 kids in this room dedicated for babysitting. And so they were like, what if we do something more valuable than just babysit? And so they started running STEM classrooms, and they were bringing in Lego sets and robotics and 3D printing. And now fast forward 10 years, it is just amazing. It's a big part of their programming. I think they've had over 30 to 30,000, somewhere between 30 to 40,000, what they told me. They're up to 7,500 kids per year pass through this now STEM class, and it's jam packed over in a little town of 45,000 people in Wallingford, Connecticut. And so I've had Kenny on the show before, and he was telling me about this, and I was like, Kenny, you need to go to NRPA and do a talk on this. This is amazing. This is exactly the kind of opportunity that every Parks and Rec department community center could do for their after school care, and they can run these STEM programs. And Chris Stone has been doing it for a decade, so we have a great working model. Anyone else that's doing this, please reach out to me. I think we're trying to do maybe a couple part series, maybe a 4-part series about. So you've got Parks and Rec, you've got programming in Parks and Rec, and part of the programming can be STEM classes. And this is already happening real time for a decade. It's amazingly successful, run with Kenny Michaels. He is the director of Parks and Rec over in Wilmington. Christopher Stone is a STEM teacher, 30 years in teaching. And hopefully Kenny is going to be able to do a talk in Philly, the upcoming NRPA. So if NRPA is listening, please accept Kenny Michaels as a speech. I want to go. I want to cover it. And then we're going to try to circle the wagons. If there's anyone else in America that's doing a similar program, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. We want to do something. Maybe it's a monthly show, maybe it's a weekly show, maybe it's just like 4 shows and that's all we ever do about it. But I just think it's really important. And it was just a great show. So if you didn't watch it, that was yesterday's show. All right, so that's all I have for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for attending. Derrick, thank you so much for coming on the show today. That was such a treat. I really didn't know how it was going to go. I was like, sure, they reached out to us, and they discovered the Daily Parks and Rec show, and we have a gubernatorial candidate in the state of Georgia that loves Parks and Rec, that was kind of learned to swim in Parks and Rec, and just wanted to speak to the Parks and Rec community of America. And I was like, hey, let's give it a shot. And now I'm so happy we did it, and it seems like such a great man, and I really hope the best for him. So thanks a lot, Derrick. All right, so I'm going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's Christmas Eve, and for many of my friends overseas, it's Christmas already. And so Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you all so much for everything y'all have done for the Daily Parks and Rec show with the outpouring of love and support. It really means a lot to me and the team. And I want everybody to know it's not just me doing a podcast. There are, gosh, I think we're up to 20 people now, counting our hosts, our interns, our full-timers, our networkers, our super talented video editors that are just working tirelessly around the clock to create something that I think is beautiful. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is just tell the story of Parks and Rec. And it's such a beautiful story that's already going on. We're not creating Parks and Rec here. We're just shining a light on it. And there are Parks and Rec professionals that have been tirelessly working for many generations. This is a well over 100-year industry. Many of the most beautiful parks in America, are 100, 150 years old, celebrating their 150th anniversary. I know right here in New Orleans, we have gorgeous parks that are just nearly ancient, especially with the trees and stuff they have in them. And so shout out to all of the Parks and Rec professionals out there. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your hard work, and love and appreciate everything that you do. All right, we'll see y'all here, and y'all have a Merry Christmas. Thanks a lot.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.